we are ready. All right. So it's been a long time coming. I'll talk about it later on in this episode. Welcome to the Creators Initiative podcast, where we have a raw and authentic conversation about the highs and lows of creating media to start or grow our business and personal brand and how we can overcome it all. I am your host, DP editor and content creator, Leia Low. And if you didn't know my name was pronounced Leia, it's because you are not a platinum member of the membership friendship incorporated. Okay, I'm just kidding, but still, it's I do not care if you say Leia or if you say Leah. Honestly, it just really depends on my mood, how I want to pronounce it. You know, what alter ego that I want to go with today. So it's either Leah or it's Leia. We'll go with either one, okay? And in today's episode, I want to share 3 struggles I had while trying to create high quality content in the last 3 months of 2023 and what I am doing to make sure I show up and provide value consistently for the next 6 months in 2024. So let's get into it. First things first, my first struggle, I think my ultimate struggle in 2023 was coming to the realization, the real, true realization that creating content is hard. But creating quality content that is engaging consistently is extremely hard. So let me just go through all the steps that it takes to just produce this podcast. Not all the other stuff that I've created in the background that has yet to be released, but just the podcast alone, okay? Because once again, like I said, it was something that I was like, I had an idea, and I'm pretty sure it's gonna be a feat, but I didn't know how much of a feat it was gonna be. So first things first is pre-production. You got to come up with topics. Now, I started in the beginning with ChatGPT. Those first couple episodes of this podcast was inspired by ChatGPT and a prompt that I used, or just questions that I knew that somebody might want to have an answer to or need an answer to when it comes to content creation, marketing, things like that. But it's kind of all over the place, rambling, ranting, raving, and it was just like a TED talk. It wasn't even a TED talk. TED talks are awesome. My talk was not. It was like a how-to, but all audio, and that was just absolutely terrible. But yeah, ChatGPT came up with the topics in the beginning, and now I don't even know what I use now. I do know I use vidIQ. I love vidIQ. It gives me daily ideas. But now I'm kind of just going off of ideas that I know I had questions to when I started out, and obviously I have all the experience in the world because I did the wrong things and now I'm doing the right things, or I went to school for it and spent $80,000 on my degree and not even use it, things like that. So yeah, like I have experience now, and I can totally talk about it and make it a podcast topic, but you got to come up with topics. And then after you come up with the topics, you actually have to research the topic. Now, see, a lot of stuff I know, okay, I have an experience with, but I also want to have other people's insight. Like, what did you do? How did you overcome these issues? And if you have integrity, you're definitely going to research the topics. You're not going to come out here and just talk about anything. But I mean, it is 2024, and there's a lot of people on the internet that have an opinion, not a fact, and just start a podcast. So, I mean, you could totally do it. But for me, personally, for me in my house, I got to know what I'm talking about to actually competently show up and talk about the said topic. So you got to research your topic, right? And then you have to outline the episode around said topic. And this was really hard for me because I am so in my head, it's ridiculous, but we're really, really, really working on it. But it was just hard to try to think 3 or 4 years down the road of how would this apply to you? And it, do I need to go into more detail or not too much detail that, I would lose you? It was a lot, but I had to outline for these episodes. And then I had to double check to make sure it was accurate and helpful to those who watch or listen, which, like I said, rabbit hole, and one more rabbit hole. Okay. It was, I was going to make a joke and I don't even know the movie. It's something with some, never mind, don't even worry about it. We're not even going to do that. But that was pre-production. And then when it came to production, I had to set up. Let me talk about that for just like 2.5 seconds. It has taken me a total of either 2 hours to a minimum of 30 minutes on a good day to set up for this podcast. Now, this podcast set up, the set, the whatever you want to call it right now, because I'm like all over the place. That scared the mess out of me. I'm sorry. I have a window over here in this new studio where I can see people walk up, and it was the FedEx man, and my heart just dropped to my stomach because I don't know these people. So that was really scary. So sorry. I had to just bring it up. Anyway, I'm pretty sure he's like, what the heck is going on in here? But don't worry about it, bro. This is my 9 to 5. He seems nice. But anywho, I am so sorry. Squirrel. That was a true squirrel moment. But dang it. What was I talking about? Setup. This podcast has changed 4 times, I believe, so far. The setup has. And so each time it has changed, I had to go to the drawing board to set this up because, contrary to popular belief, what you're looking at, especially right now, especially this setup for this new look of the podcast, was studied, practiced, test shots galore. Okay, taken into software to color. I mean, like, I have right now a monitor that's above this camera to see like how it would look like with LUTs. Like, it's a lot. It is a lot. So anytime that I had to change venues, if you will, was detrimental to my mental health because I have to figure out lighting placement, camera placement, what type of lenses I would use, tight or wide. Having to have an extension cord so I can plug up every single thing. Do I need a bigger softbox or a smaller softbox, which you'll know later on what I'm talking about when it comes to softboxes and things like that. I think I have videos where I'm talking about softboxes if you need them, fluorescent softbox kit, things like that. But seriously, it's a lot. So every time I had to change it up was terrible. And also I never got to dial in my ideal look. I never had to play with like, okay, this is how I want my podcast to look. This is the vibe, all the things. Like, no joke, seeing this before I even shot it, the test footage and stuff like that, was like, okay, this is my look. This is a whole vibe. This is what I've been chasing for the past like 4 or 5 months since I started this podcast, but I hadn't had the opportunity or the space or just the time to really play with it and see what it is that I like. And that's the great thing right now about being solo with this podcast and having this studio space, is that I can sit here all day, 6 hours, 12 hours if I want to, trying to figure out and dial in this look that I want, rather than being like, I only have 2 hours or 4 hours to get this done. And that's like the filming part of it. Like, actually the audio filming, podcast part of this, not the actually setting up and breaking down. So I think I nailed all production part of this, where you have to set up, film it, and then break it all down, and have to do that in 4 hours or 2. Especially when we rented the first 2 spaces, I think, or the first 2 episodes, like first 4 episodes. But I know like 2 of them didn't make it because I don't even remember what happened with the first episode. Some issues happened, but I had to rent the space, so I had a time slot. So it's just being under pressure. I'm not the person, like, I can be under pressure, but I can't be under pressure when I'm trying to be creative. So there's that. And then also too, when we shot at the new location, which was a real estate like office or whatever, it was good, but it was bad all at the same time. But it was just like all the way in Brentwood, which is like almost an hour away from where I live. And also my co-host at the time, I had to take him back home so he could pick up his kids. So I had like a window between like 10 o'clock and like 12 o'clock because the traffic is crazy. And y'all know Nashville traffic is now just horrendous. Okay, so it was a lot. It was a lot. And now being only like 20 minutes from my home now, me doing this by myself, having all the time in the world to figure this out, dialing the look, with the lights, how powerful I want, all the things. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It is beautiful, but it was a struggle. It was a struggle in the beginning. It was a struggle in the beginning. It was a struggle. It took me 2 hours to nail down this look, and then coming back in here, really nailing down this look now. But post-production, none of this matters if you can't edit it. But thankfully with AI, that does help a lot with the editing process. So I just throw that in Autopod. Wrong. No, it is Autopod. I throw it into autopod. But here's the thing: this is one thing where you push a button and it does the job for you. Like, it's great. It's the greatest thing since sliced bread. But the only problem is you actually have to know what you're doing. You just can't. You just can't buy this AI and it do it for you. You have to know what you're doing beforehand. So I am going to get technical because it's the only way I can explain it, because this threw me for a loop. It got me frustrated. I wanted to punch my computer. It is what it is. I might have anger management problems. It is what it is. But autopod, lifesaver. But if you don't know what you're doing and you don't get it, it sucks. It absolutely sucks. So technical terms here is that you're supposed to record separate audio tracks in order to use this AI autopod, right? You cannot have one track with all you guys talking at once for it to work. You have to have multiple lines of tracks, multiple track lines. Okay? Didn't know that. Did not know that at all. Filmed like 2 or 3 episodes with just one track. Was just tedious having to go through the episodes myself and cut from, me, Dre, me, back to Dre, me, back to Dre, me, back to Dre. Which, by the way, also being now that this podcast is solo, I'm just cutting between angles. Flag the audio. We can do one line of track and just switch to a different angle if we want to and let autopod do its thing. But it was a lot. It was a lot. And also, it took up a lot of space on my memory card, which was a problem I'm going to tell you about here later on in the episode. But yeah, it was a lot. These big files. And I figured that out like 3rd, 4th episode in after I paid for like 2 months straight of autopod and couldn't even use it. So it was a whole thing. But that's probably the most positive, less stressful thing is the editing part, because AI does take care of it. Now, I had to become an amateur graphic designer overnight. Still working on the thumbnails. It's still a work in progress, trying to figure out how to grab screen grabs of these videos and make a really convincing thumbnail and things like that. So I'm still working on it, but still, the last 2 episodes that are up on the YouTube channel were just decent. Like, okay, I kind of have an idea of like how to get these thumbnails right. Cause I love when these YouTubers give advice, but sometimes I need to get a little bit more detail, like be literal just a little bit. Like, I'm not saying like hold my hand, because it's like impossible, because we don't know what level anybody is on when we teach these things. But like some things were just like, hey, tell me I got to be pretty close to the camera for me to get a good screen grab. Sometimes you got to be just obvious, but it's fine. I figured it out. At the end of the day, I still figured it out. We will always just figure it out. But man, I wish if somebody would have just been like, hey, let's be literal now. But it's okay. It's fine. We'll figure it out. I'm not even mad. I hope no one thinks I am. All right. So the second struggle that I had with creating content in 2023 was another realization, another epiphany, if you will, that communication is hard. There's a lot of hards in this episode, if you haven't noticed yet. But communication is hard. And it is extremely difficult explaining complicated skills in a simplistic way. So kudos to the TED Talk people and the YouTubers and the professors that we had in college that were amazing, because that's teachers. Okay, just that is to communicate. Listen, to communicate what you already know and that you do without even thinking, but trying to explain it with somebody who has no idea, like right now, it's hard for me to just even finish that sentence. That's how difficult it is to communicate. So kudos to those people who made it look extremely easy, because I'm struggling. But I'll get better, because I'm going to keep showing up until I get better. Okay? And the third struggle that I had with creating content in 2023 was stuff happens. And stuff happens all the time. So, as you know, I am a full-time business owner, and if you don't know, now you know. But my schedule is extremely tight. I have to maximize the hours I have in my day and week, so when people want to reschedule or cancel days I have set to batch record content, not only drives me up the wall and gives me a brain aneurysm, but it creates more stress. Creates more stress on me to film and edit content at the last minute to upload that most likely won't be my best work because it was rushed. So working around other people's schedule became more stressful than it was beneficial in my life. So I had to cut it. Here's a song, and I will not sing it. I'm trying my. You need to cut it. But anyway, yes, I had to cut it because it was a lot. It was a lot, even if it was unintentional. And there was no hard feelings or any malicious intent, evil will, whatever the words I want to use. It was just a lot. It was a lot because, like I said, running a full-time business is a full-time business until you can outsource it to other people to help you run the business. We're not there yet, but we're working to get there. So until then, it's all on me and my tight schedule that I feel like I write out and make happen a month in advance. And so when somebody messes with it, I'm going to stop there. But anyway, I digress. Now, the other thing about stuff that just happened all the time, was the fact that I batch recorded this episode and another, because I always film 2 episodes in one day. I did that 2 days before its scheduled premiere date, and the memory card corrupted. And the audio card ran out of memory. I didn't even see that. So I wasted 4 hours of my life, truly. And I had to push back the schedule for my content for another week, because we just keep pushing this stuff back because something always is happening. Always. So this is not the first time. I wish it was, but it wasn't. It wasn't the first time that something like this has happened to me while trying to get ahead of creating content. But I feel like when stuff like this happens, it is just an opportunity to prove how much I want to succeed and see this all through. It feels like I don't know, man. It's like an adrenaline rush or something like this. Like, all right, bet. I'm going to come back 10 times harder now just because we're just being difficult, okay? And just know that there's people out there that if that happened to them, they'd be done. They would sell all the camera equipment, all the audio equipment, try to get a refund back on the 2 months they had in the studio, all the things. And here I am like, all right, I'm just going to go home. I'm going to take a nap, and then I'm going to wake up and make me a homemade pizza. I'm going to watch some Netflix, and I'm going to play some Call of Duty, Warzone, and I'm just going to come back to this later in the week when I have time, schedule it out, and it's just going to be okay because this is going to work out. It's going to work out. We got this. Okay, so here's 3 strategies I am implementing in 2024 to ensure I show up consistently for the next 6 months. So discipline number 1, I'm sorry, not discipline number 1, but strategy number 1, I guess, would be to be more disciplined and to batch record. Everybody and their mother tells you need a batch record. For real, you do. It's, it's 110%. 110% can't avoid it. And, you cannot be undisciplined and not batch record. You got to batch record. Because listen, recording this episode, this podcast 2 days before the premiere day, and then having 2 cards, not 1, but 2 cards malfunction, proved how important it is recording months worth of content because stuff happens. Life happens, okay? And here's the sad part. It was my fault. I've heard the horror stories about when the camera is recording and, a battery dies or, like me, I ripped out the battery, like it's a plug-in battery. There's a fancy term for it, but I can't think of it right now. But I ripped it out. I ran right into the wire and ripped it right out. And even I was like, that's probably not good. And it's funny because I did a test recording to see that I could actually see the footage on the camera. But when I put it in my computer, there's so many fancy words for putting a card in your computer. I can't think of it right now, but just know I literally put my memory card in my computer, try to open up the file or just open up the memory card, click on the little hard drive button on the computer, and not a video to be found. Except, actually, crazy thing that happened was old videos that I already formatted or translation deleted was showing up, and I was just like, yeah, that's not good. That is not good at all. And here's the sad part. We could have got away with that because I had two camera, 2 videos. Words, Leah, words. I had 2 cameras rolling. But of course, the card that failed, the card that got corrupted, was the main camera. So I had nothing but like a top angle, and I was like, that's just not gonna work. We're not just gonna half do stuff. We have time, and that's another thing too. Was before being rushed to get things uploaded, respectfully hearing drama about when I didn't have things uploaded, or because stuff happens because I'm a full-time business owner and things like that, was stressful. It was a lot. I mean, we had conversations, hashed it out, whatever, but it was a lot. It was a lot weighing on me. So for me to be able to be like, you know what? I know what I'm about to do these next 6 months, and it's okay. This is not going to happen again. We are going to make sure it does not happen again. But it happened. We're not going to be able to come out with this podcast episode like I wanted to. Everything's been inconsistent, honestly, since we started, but it's okay because it's not going to be inconsistent after this, because I'm making a point to be disciplined, badge record, and prepare for me knocking out batteries while I'm recording and cards corrupting. Gonna have backups and backups and backups, so it doesn't happen again. And I'd rather it happen to me than happen on a commercial shoot, on a paid shoot. So that's another thing too. So I'm always trying to look at the positive. But also, not only with just batch recording, but something I want to give insight on what has worked for me. Is that for me, taking 2 hours of deep work each day that is dedicated to pre-production and post-production, and then a whole day to production, since I have studio now. Thank you, my rental buddy. Instead of having a designated week of the month or a day of the month to batch record content, has been more beneficial, has been just a whole lot funner than just, because here's the thing, I like what I do. I like the content I create for other brands and businesses and things like that, but I also like creating my stuff too, and being able to test things out and be be creative and just see if anybody vibes with it, see if any client like, hey, I want that too for my stuff, and I hate waiting for the next month or the end of the month to be able to do all the things I want to do, and I can only do it for a week. Doing something for 2 hours each day helps me look forward to work and the other stuff that I have to get done. Like, if I get this project done, then I'm not too big, too fun. It's not like a fun project that needs to be done, but it has to be done. After this, I get to work on this other fun stuff, and then actually have a client that I do fun work for, because work sometimes can be work. It doesn't matter. People need interviews, commercial interview, talking head videos. Like, talking head videos are very simple. This is a talking head video, nothing like spectacular about it or anything like that, but people need them, and you got to work on them. So it's not something that's like super fun and takes a lot of on the editing side, but it needs to be done. But at the same time, I enjoy just being able to look forward to being super creative instead of like the monotonous stuff that I've done so much now that I can do in my sleep, if that makes any sense. And also I realize that what works for others might not work for you. Yeah, what works for others might not work for you. And that was the thing when I kept being told by other YouTubers and things like that was, to batch record, take a week, take a day in the beginning, all that stuff. It didn't work for me. I didn't like it. So I tried this. So hopefully, maybe, possibly, this idea of, having 2 hours a day where you work on your stuff every single day and keep your skills sharp works for you, rather than 1 week of the month or whatever. But like I said, everybody has their different ways of doing things out there, and it's worth trying each one to see what sticks, what works for you. So there's that. The second plan of execution to my strategy here is reading and renewing my mind daily. So I am currently reading and studying a plethora of communication books. And when I say a plethora, that's like 3, but it's a plethora to me, okay? Because I want to be a master communicator one day. Now, let me drop some knowledge from the internet on you here real quick. So neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to restructure itself after training and practice, thereby creating new neural pathways in the human brain. Neuroplasticity is what makes personal growth, change, and development possible. I believe wholeheartedly that I am the person I am today because I listen daily to sermons, podcasts, and motivational speeches. Okay. And y'all gonna laugh at me, but you can. It is. I am a comedian. I am a comedian. But I don't just go out of my way to like listen to sermons because I just thoroughly enjoy listening to sermons. But so I actually listen to them while I play Call of Duty. My dad said that's like the most violent thing to do while listening to a sermon, but it works. Read Atomic Habits. We're habit stacking right now, and that's the only way I'm gonna sit still and listen to something. So that's what I do, or maybe like on a drive, because everywhere I got to drive these days when I do like go to the gym or come to the studio is like 15-20 minutes. So hey, let's listen to that. I like when I'm working out, I listen to a podcast and actually take notes while I'm working out. I don't listen to my playlist anymore. I listen to a podcast and I literally take notes because y'all all know I'm gonna be in the gym for like 2 hours, so I might as well kill two birds with one stone. You know what I'm saying? So I do that. Motivational speeches. I have a whole app I listen to. Definitely, like I said, 15-minute car rides to the gym, back home, here to the studio, back home, in between both because they're like near each other. Like I'm constantly renewing my mind, okay? And this is why I am where I am today, because for years now, especially since I graduated college, because I realized after college that life sucks, okay? It's absolute trash. It is the ghetto. -5 out of 10 would not recommend, okay? All right, but I realize adulting sucks, okay? And you need a pep talk. You need a pep talk every single day, twice a day, sometimes 5 times a day, okay? And every time I have neglected my mind for a couple of days, couple weeks, couple months, sometimes it's been a couple of years, I lose my mind. So that's what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life. It doesn't stop here for the next 6 months. It's definitely going to be like very honed in on it for the next 6 months, but it's going to be a lifelong thing. But I'm going to tell you, whole different person when I am not doing what I need to do mentally. Okay, so if you didn't know, now you know your girl can write. Okay, it comes naturally. She is a storyteller. Okay, and I'm just thinking about all the past relationships I had. If you received a story from me, you know firsthand that I can write. I will tell you how I feel and in detail, so there will be no doubt. There will be no, I don't know where's this coming from. I don't know why she feels this way. I gave you all the detail. I gave you bullet points and everything because the girl can write. It comes naturally. But I'm not a great speaker, okay? I stutter. I get worked up. I go on rants. I go down rabbit holes, okay? But I'm working on it. By seeking opportunities, specifically like this podcast and my YouTube channel, to practice and get better and just slowing down and breathing and thinking as I speak. Because I kind of don't think when I speak. I just speak. That's why I write. If anybody knows me and is like, that girl could have said all that to my face, but instead she waited till she got home and she sent me a story. It's because it was a lot on my mind. There's no way I would have been able to say that. But we're working on it. So bless any soul that now, after I learn how to speak, gets the stories that I would send in a text now said in person. It's gonna be either good or bad, but either way, I will never raise my voice. How about that? Okay. So last but not least, y'all, is I never quit. I don't quit. Like, you can't beat someone who never quits. Okay, so stuff happens. Life happens. But I refuse to quit. And my business and my life is going to change in the next 6 months because I prayed about this and I'm now putting in the work, taking advantage of the opportunities God has blessed me with to make my business goals and personal goals a reality. I can't wait. I can't wait for those who listen to this podcast and watch my content see the growth that is to come in these next couple of months. I am not the type of person to tell you, I told you so. Never. Could never be me. But physically, you'll see. You'll just see the I told you so, okay? You'll see the I told you so. So thank you for listening to this podcast, this episode of the Creators Initiative. If you found this episode helpful, please share with a friend. And don't forget to rate this podcast on whatever platform you use. Until the next episode, I hope you gain confidence and inspiration to show up your way and on your terms. I will catch you in the next pod. Bye bye.